We ask you to be with all these folks here today, elected, unelected citizens, lovers of the Lord, lovers of our country. We ask you to give us patience, to give us wisdom, and to give us courage. We ask you to continue to bless our country and these wonderful people in it, and we ask all this in your precious name. Amen. All right, well, it's great to see all of you here today, and I thank Representative Metcalf for this annual event. It's important. It's important that we continue to do this. Let me also thank my colleagues, or my former colleagues. We're all citizens, right? These are all our employees. I'm one of your employees. We work for you. But not everybody comes out and stands on the Capitol steps in support of tough issues. Not everybody does it, and so it's important that we acknowledge the ones that are willing to do it. Thank you. Yeah. So as an old Army guy, we always ask a number of questions. Who, what, when, where, why, right? That's what we always ask. And so when I talked to Representative Metcalf about coming to the rally, kind of the same thing for me. So who? Who are these people? Who are these people? All the people across the country that believe in this effort. We are law-abiding people who follow the rules, who go get a permit to exercise our rights, who don't want to have any run-ins with the law, who support the law, who support and defend, supporting and funding the police. That's who these people are. That's who you are. But let me tell you who else you are. Louise Howard, 86 years old, from Bulls Gap, Tennessee. An assailant comes into her home. 86 years old. Legally has a firearm. Gets into a scuffle with the person that comes into her home and has to fight over the firearm. Ends up discharging the firearm, misses the assailant, but the fact that she used her firearm to defend herself scared the assailant away. She lost her purse and some other things, but she kept her life. That's who we are. That's who you are. A concealed carry permit holder, a woman, and her daughter in Cocoa, Florida. She went shopping at a convenience store, attacked by two guys who held her up, used her firearm. They started shooting randomly into the store. Well, she didn't shoot randomly. Concealed carry permit holder, ready to go, responsibly. Shot one of her assailants. But she's not going to jail, nor should she, for defending herself. That's who we are. That's the who. Another concealed carry permit holder on the south side of Chicago. She was being robbed, and she shot and killed her attacker. And then finally, and look, we're replete with stories about people that have done this. You just don't hear it from these folks right down here. You hear other stories from them, but you don't hear these stories, which is why it's important that we get together and talk about the who. A lady in Houston, Texas, Michelle Hodgins. Two men tried to rob her, and she shot one of her assailants as well and saved her life. That's who we are. And just to be clear, Asian gun ownership rose by 46% in 2020. Just think about that, okay? That's who we are. That's who we are here. Black American gun ownership rose by 60% last year. 60%. 8.4 million Americans bought a firearm to protect themselves, to avail themselves to their constitutional rights last year alone. And people say, well, we don't really rally. That's the other side. That's other people. We don't rally. Well, we do rally. This is like-minded people who think constitutional rights are important. They think so, and I think so too. And just because we're law-abiding citizens doesn't mean that we want to be turned into criminals by Biden administration, or quite honestly by state administration that just wants to change the rules somewhere in the middle of the game. Or we don't want to be made into criminals because the administration doesn't want to fund our policing concerns and then forces us to have to defend ourselves, and then we're worried about our lives and our livelihoods after the fact. So when do we have to do this? That's the who, the when. For my whole life, we've had to defend this portion of the Constitution. It's unacceptable that we've had to, but we have to. We had to do it yesterday. We have to do it today. We have to be prepared, and I'm sure Representative Metcalf and his colleagues are prepared to do this again next year and every single day. Every day is the appropriate day to stand up for your neighbors. These are constitutional rights. It doesn't say, well, the first is more important than the second is more important than the fourth. They're all important and they're all worthy of defense. And oh, by the way, while the Second Amendment has been under assault for a number of years, you can see in the last few years the other amendments, including the first, are under assault as well. And you know very well what protects the first, which is what we're doing here today. So where do we have to do this? Everywhere we are. We have to speak up in our homes with our family members. Some of them don't get it. Maybe they don't understand. At this capital, at our nation's capital, in advocacy groups, those in power, many of those in power, not all those in power, have always sought to limit the power of the powerless. And I laud and applaud my colleagues that want to stand with the powerless today and say the Constitution defends you and we're going to defend it. So now I get to the why. Yes, the why. Why do we have to continue to do this? We should not have to continue to do this, but we must. We must leave our homes or our places of employment or families and come up and stand up for our rights, because the left, and it's the left, let's just be clear, is never going to stop. They keep coming and coming and coming. These rights are enshrined in law. They're not given to us by politicians. These rights aren't given to us by politicians. They are outlined in our Constitution, and they are ordained, and they come from the good Lord in heaven above. Now, some of my colleagues in Washington, and I suspect some of our good friends here in Harrisburg have some colleagues on the other side of the aisle, that they don't seem to believe in the Constitution. It's clearly written in the Pennsylvania Constitution, right? The right to bear arms shall not be questioned. I don't know if it gets any more clear. I don't know, but now some apparently don't believe in that. I don't know if they would stop themselves from defending their own families, but they'll be happy to stop you from defending your own family. Just to be clear here, we know who we are. We talked about that. We know who we are. We know what we're doing here. We're going to keep coming here. We know that we must stand up every day, and we aren't going to stop. They're not going to stop, and we're not going to stop. We're going to be seen everywhere, in every small town, in every business, in our families, state capitals, the federal capital, advocacy groups. Why do we have to do it? Well, we know. Look, President Biden's been very clear. He's interested in banning weapons, banning them straight out. He's interested in changing definitions for parts manufacturers and things like pistol braces for people that are handicapped that still want to defend themselves. They can't get it through the legislative process. They can't get it through your duly elected officials, so they just want to take the pen and write it down and act as if it's law. Well, it's not law, and it's governing against the will of the governed. And finally, just to put a cherry on top of this, if you will, nominating David Chipman. To stand in judgment over law-abiding people will not be accepted by these people, or should not be accepted by America. We know why the individuals who founded this nation, the greatest nation on the planet, knew the right to bear arms must be protected. Not only does it protect the First Amendment, but every single bit of the Constitution and the very republic itself. And I'm very proud. I'm very proud and I'm very honored to stand with my colleagues and with you, the American people, to say that we are going to stand firm and protect our God-given constitutional rights. God bless you. Keep standing.
Thank you, Congressman Scott Perry. Thank you very much, Congressman, for being with us today. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts and your heart with us. Thank you for leading off with the prayer that was getting a request from the folks in the audience there. So we didn't. I bet that shocked a lot of people that Scott was able to fill in with that request so quickly. Scott did a great job. Appreciate his being with us today. It's hard to find time with some of our congressmen with all the activity in D.C., and Scott made time to be here, put it on his schedule. When I talked to him back, I think it was probably a couple of months ago, and he's been true to that with making sure it happened, him and his staff, so thank you. As I mentioned, Scott had been the original Pennsylvania Castle Doctrine sponsor, and I think he needs another hand for that too, his work on that when he was here in the Pennsylvania House. Well, over the years, we've had this rally. I think this is our 16th rally this year, and when we kind of birthed this idea out of my office in Cranberry Township, Butler County, Kim Stouffer and I were together with some others when we came up with this idea and started the rally at that time. We've had many speakers over the years, and Kim has been here every year that he was able. Some health concerns took him out of the picture for a little, I think one of the rallies, but he's recuperated and he's back again. So our next speaker is Mr. Kim Stouffer, President and Chairman, Firearm Owners Against Crime. Kim?
Good morning, everyone. You're here for the Second Amendment, right? We're citizens. We believe in our rights, right? My name's Kim Stouffer. I've been doing this for 37 years. I do this for you, for my kids, for my grandkids. First, I want to ask, how many veterans are out there right now? God bless you all. But you know, in preparing for this, yesterday was the 77th celebration, if you can call it that, of the invasion of Normandy. 77 years ago, young men of America and other countries were being shredded on the beaches of Normandy by 8mm German bullets. Why were they there? Were they there because they were hired? No. They were there defending a principle, a concept, a belief that America is America, a land of the free, that the Bill of Rights applies. I was in the Marine Corps. I believe in the rights of all Americans, all of yours. Is there anyone here that doesn't believe that the rights should be interpreted as they were written, not because of some scrutiny level that was invented by the Supreme Court? If you are, raise your hands. I'll be right down. I want to say something about Judge Benitez because he said something about the assault weapon repeal that he went after because of he overturned the California assault weapon ban. He said there is only one policy enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Guns and ammunition in the hands of criminals, tyrants, and terrorists are dangerous. Guns in the hands of law-abiding and responsible citizens are better. To give full life to the core right of self-defense, every law-abiding, responsible individual citizen has a constitutionally protected right to keep and bear firearms commonly owned and kept for lawful purposes. What is that about the Democrats in his state, by and large, who don't get that message? You're right. Some Republicans. But any legislator that doesn't understand that, I want to ask you to look at the tape, the video of Chairman Rob Coffin's hearing on constitutional carry and preemption law, House Bill 659 and House Bill 979. I was staggered by the Democrats on the committee. To a man, they chose to be against the rule of law, to be against the Constitution. 30 years ago, there were more pro-gun Democrats in this building than there were Republicans. The whole party has swung into the nutball realm. And I'm tired of it. We swore an oath. That oath means that the law means something, that we will support and defend it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So when you go into this building today, and hopefully you will, and take the papers we're passing around, and go in and visit legislators, remember this. They swore an oath too. And if we don't protect that oath, if the rule of law doesn't matter, then they better rue the day that we decide we're not going to follow the law either. Because this is our country, and we're in a city whose ignoring the rule of law. Tell me why the mayor isn't in handcuffs because he's committed a crime with preemption law violations. Why is Bicycle Bill in Pittsburgh not in handcuffs? It's a crime. I'm not making this up. Section 6119 of Title 18. It's a crime. I didn't fight for this country. My friends didn't die in Vietnam so that people can just shred the Constitution at will. The whole problem with America is we do not have accountability for actions in the legislature, and government officials aren't held accountable. And until we do, nothing will matter. So I want to just conclude with this. Anti-gun groups and some politicians claim the moral high ground that every gun control law works. I'm telling you, those gun control laws you support kill Americans and kill Pennsylvanians. And if you don't start realizing that, you should be held accountable. God bless America. God bless you all. And let's fight for our rights.
Thank you, Kim Stolfer. As Kim mentioned, he was a Marine, still in his heart. He's still a Marine, and we appreciate him taking that passion to Firearm Owners Against Crime as president and chairman of that organization, and for the many years he's put into defending our rights, working behind the scenes, working here in the Capitol hallway with other like-minded citizens to advocate for defense of our Constitution, especially our Second Amendment. Representative Stephanie Borowitz is our next speaker. Stephanie, Representative Borowitz. Off collecting gifts, it looks like.
Thank you, Daryl. He's a good friend of mine. I sit by him on the floor, and it is interesting. We debate who's more conservative. I say myself. Daryl says he is, but it's still a debate. Hey, thank you guys for coming out today. I love being with freedom-loving Americans that are willing to come out and stand for the Second Amendment, so thank you guys for being here. Now is the time. Now is the time for the states to rise up and defend the Second Amendment. It should be the first thing that this state of Pennsylvania is doing, and I want to thank Chairman Kaufman, who ran constitutional carry. I believe we're going to be running that this week. These bills must run constitutional carry. Representative Bernstein has that, and Senator Dush in the Senate. House Bill 357, Daryl Metcalf has, Representative Metcalf has in the House. It will protect the Second Amendment if the federal government tries to come in and harm our Second Amendment rights. We also have the Second Amendment Protection Act in the Senate. These are critical to making sure Pennsylvania has the Second Amendment in its stance. I also have legislation, I patterned it after West Virginia, to eliminate the sales tax on gun purchases. I mean, it's only common sense. It is only common sense that our rights should not be taxed. And gun manufacturers should have tax credits so that they come to Pennsylvania and they stay in Pennsylvania. We have had a few huge wins. As much as it seems we're in perilous times, which we are, an all-out assault on our freedoms and liberties in the Second Amendment. And as much as we're in perilous times, God has allowed our Supreme Court and President Trump to put in 3 justices to protect our rights and our liberties and the Second Amendment. We just had a huge win in the Supreme Court. Did you guys see that? 9-0. Let me say that again. 9-0 to protect the Second Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. You want to know why? Because the Founding Fathers had that. The British, the Redcoats, would come in and just seize their guns, seize their ammo. And so that's why they put the Fourth Amendment in to protect the Second Amendment, and that was upheld. Another great thing, I had a constituent write me last night on Facebook, and he said, keep fighting the good fight, Stephanie. California assault weapon ban was ruled unconstitutional. Two huge wins for the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is the reason why we are still free today. Even after tyrannical governors overstepped their authority this last year, They knew that we were still an armed population. And that is what keeps us free. It defends all of the rest, right? The Second Amendment defends all of the other rights. But they continuously try to shove down our throats gun control. And listen, I've said this before, it's not gun violence, it's gun control, because it's all about control. They try to soften the words so people fall for it. Well, we're calling their crap, right? It's gun control, it's all about controlling law-abiding citizens, as Congressman Perry said. It's all about controlling law-abiding citizens that are here today. There's an amazing 2-minute clip of a Holocaust survivor. And she tells Americans she came here, and she lives here. I hope she's still alive. And it's only about 2 minutes. Go find it on YouTube. And she says, have guns, buy more guns, and you have to have ammo, because the guns won't work without the ammo. She's like 95 years old. And she said, buy more guns, buy more ammo. To Americans, warning us, keep your Second Amendment. Because as long as we are an armed population, the government fears us and other countries fear us because of it. May our resolve today be strengthened as we leave here to stand up and defend all of our liberties and our freedoms, because nothing else matters. Freedom comes through Jesus Christ and Him alone. And it's worth defending at all costs. Thank you so much.
Just leaves me standing with my hand out.
I do that every year. I'm so sorry.
She had to collect all of her stuff. Thank you, Stephanie. Great job. We appreciate Stephanie joining us again. Also, as I said, we have, before our next speaker, I want to read through some of the members of the legislature that expected to be here today. And I know some of them were going to be in and out. We had a couple of our chairmen that didn't know better than to schedule a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock when the rally was occurring. So I'm hoping their constituents will let them know they should have been here instead of scheduling a meeting they could have had at 10:30 or 11. But they chose to do that instead of join us. Or maybe they'll join us after the meeting, hopefully. We had some senators that planned on being here. I know I saw Senator Kristin Phillips Hill was here, and she was, I know she had an injury that she was dealing with, so we appreciate her making her way here and making time to be with us this morning and dealing with that injury to still be able to be with us. Thank you, Kristin. Senator Kristin Phillips Hill. Senator Mario Scavello planned on being here. Senator Elder Vogel, Senator Judy Ward. I saw Senator Doug Mastriano was here. I saw Senator Scott Hutchinson is here this morning. Senator Chris Dushy will be hearing from. Senator Camera Bartolotta planned on being here, and Senator Jim Brewster planned on being here. We have 62 House members that had RSVP'd. Sometimes members show up during the event and come in and out due to meetings, but I'll read some of the names off, and then we'll have our next speaker, and I'll read some of the other names. State Representative Mike Armani. State Representative Aaron Bernstein was doing some video work off to the side here, which he's still there. Representative Borowitz. State Representative Marty Causer, one of our leadership team in the Pennsylvania House Republican Caucus. State Representative Bud Cook. I know Bud must be here because I think he would be admonished by his mom if he wasn't. State Representative Eric DeVanzo. State Representative Cheryl Glozier. I always mess up Cheryl's name. Hopefully I got it right this time. I know I saw State Representative Russ Diamond. You're going to hear from State Representative Matt Dowling. State Representative George Dunbar is one of our leadership team in the Republican caucus. George is here. State Representative Torrin Ecker, I saw Torrin. State Representative Mindy Fee, I saw Mindy. State Representative Jonathan Fritz. State Representative Mark Gillen was called to duty in one of those untimely meetings that were called, but Mark was planning on joining us again. State Representative Barb Gleim. I saw State Representative Jim Gregory, State Representative Joe Ham, Dave Hickernow, Rich Irvin, Lee James. I saw State Representative Mike Jones here also. There he is. And made me think of Mike Jones when I saw the free PA shirt also. So Mike's been a big advocate for freeing PA, as many of us have. State Representative Barry Joswiak, State Representative Joshua Kale. You're going to hear from State Representative Rob Kaufman, who's our chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House. State Representative Don Kiefer, State Representative Kate Klunk, and State Representative Jerry Knowles. I'll read off some other names after we hear from Chairman Rob Kaufman, who's been doing some great work there on behalf of freedom-loving people.
Good morning, freedom-loving Pennsylvanians. It's great to see you out at the state capitol this morning. You know, I love my friend Kim Stolfer. You know, he occasionally says things that we don't feel quite comfortable saying up here, calling out Democrats. But, you know, I have to note in the same token, I went to a place called Arizona this past week. You might have heard about it. With my friend over here. Yeah. Well, while we were in Arizona, you know, we talked with our legislative friends about a lot of things, and they told me something that they have out there that we don't seem to have much of here in Pennsylvania. They said all of our Democrats out here are pro-gun. I was shocked. I was like, how does that work? How do you grow those kind of people? You know, where do they sprout? Well, you know, it's something about the people in Arizona. They accept nothing less from their elected officials than elected officials who actually support and defend every single part of the Constitution. Now, those of you out there who have Democrat legislators that represent you, I'm thinking you may need to start teaching them a thing or two. Because we need to see a little bit more of that here in the Pennsylvania state capitol, like I heard about in the Arizona capitol. And let me tell you, as we move on here in Pennsylvania, we work hard daily, those of us up here, to defend the Second Amendment from the attacks of the extreme risk order protection, red flag laws, ammunition taxes, gun registration, ammunition registration. We're fighting hard against that. But let me tell you, these folks up here, we're going to continue to push the envelope. I heard you guys were coming this week. So, we gift wrapped this little present called constitutional carry. Yes, I thought you all may like it. But I wanted to give you guys something to talk about as you walk through this Capitol, as you talk to representatives and senators up and down the hallways of this Capitol, that you can go to them, those who are supporting, as you walk and talk to those who aren't supportive, educate them on the Second Amendment, educate them on constitutional carry, because as long as I am chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, we are going to continue to push the envelope and move forward and put an exclamation point on our Second Amendment here in Pennsylvania and across America. Thank you all for being here. We thank you for your support.
Thank you, Rob. Rob Kaufman. I called Rob when he was appointed chairman because the former speaker had promised that chairmanship to me. But the former speaker kind of forgot over the period of a month that he'd promised it, or he really didn't forget, but just broke his trust and was going to appoint somebody else instead of me. And when I found out it was Rob, I called Rob right away and I said, Rob, if anybody was going to be appointed chairman of the judiciary, you were the one that I would have wanted to be besides me. So Rob's done a great job there. Appreciate him being there. I'm glad that he is judiciary chairman, and he's doing some great work. So thank you, Rob, and thank you for being here, making it a new practice to actually have the Judiciary Committee chairman show up at Second Amendment rallies. So thank you. We also have with us, grab me while I was up there, got my attention, Representative Doyle Heffley. Representative Malou, Representative Malou, McKenzie. I always mess up pronunciation, so Ryan McKenzie is also here. See Representative Ryan McKenzie. And we've got mom and son duo legislators that are here in support of our Constitution and the Second Amendment. Couldn't ask for it to get better, right? State Representative Abby Major is going to be sworn in today. Abby's here. State Representative Dave Maloney, who is crowding Joshua Prince, our next speaker. Dave Maloney's back here. Representative Kurt Mauser is one of our leadership team. Representative Rob Mercury. Representative Brett Miller, Representative Dan Mao, Representative Marcy Mostello, Representative Eric Nelson, Representative Donna Oberlander, who's our whip for our House Majority Caucus, Republican Caucus. So Donna is here. State Representative Tim O'Neill, State Representative Jason Ortitai, State Representative Quinn Outlet, State Representative Tracy Pennycook, State Representative Tina Pickett, State Representative Mike Muscarrick, State Representative and Chairman of our Health Committee, Kathy Rapp, behind me. State Representative Brad Roy is back in the crowd of legislators behind us. State Representative Leslie Rossi. Didn't know we were supposed to have cheering sections. Good job. State Representative David Rowe. State Representative Frank Ryan was also called off to a meeting. State Representative Ryan is also a Marine and still a Marine in heart. State Representative Tom Sankey, State Representative Stan Sailors, also one of our leadership team, our appropriations chair. State Representative Lou Schmidt, State Representative Jason Silva, State Representative Brian Smith, I know I saw, State Representative Craig Statz, State Representative Perry Stumbaugh, State Representative Jim Struzzi, State Representative Ryan Warner, State Representative Park Wentley, State Representative Jeff Whelan, and State Representative Dave Zimmerman. And anybody that I missed, grab me while we have another speaker at the microphone, and I can make sure I announce you next. Our next speaker is Attorney Joshua Prince, and Joshua has been doing a great job defending the Second Amendment in the courts here in Pennsylvania, and we appreciate Joshua being willing to come several years now to update us on some of those battles and to encourage all of us in the fight that's going on, not just in the legislative halls, but in the halls of our courts. Thank you, Joshua.
Wow. It's a distinct honor and privilege to be here another year in front of all you patriots. The challenges we face are unlike anything we've ever seen before. In fact, Kim Stolfer showed me a scroll of all the anti-bills that have been submitted in the General Assembly. Do you have that scroll? Those are the ones that have been submitted this year already. That's not the bills. That's not all the text of the bills. That's just a listing of the bills. Like I said, we are in a fight unlike ever before. And I know every year I come up here, I usually try to bring you up to date on a number of the different cases in that, but at least to start, because I know, Darryl, I promised him this year I would keep it to a maximum of 5 minutes, because I never have before. But you know, once you give a lawyer a microphone, all bets are off. But we have an issue of utmost importance, and that is the November election. And I'm going to ask a favor of every one of you, and that favor is very simple. I need you to ensure that current President Commonwealth Court Judge Kevin Robson is elected to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. I need you to ensure that. I'm sorry. Okay, that's my fault. I didn't. Okay, I am sorry, Darryl. I did not know that. With everything coming up, we need to know about elections. We need to know about the tests that we're facing. We have 2 cases that are of paramount importance coming up. One out of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. That involves firearm owners against crime versus the city of Harrisburg. That decision will decide what is necessary to have for standing purposes in order to challenge an illegal firearm ordinance that a municipality may pass. Oral argument was back in December. Any day now we could see a decision on that. We also have a case pending in front of the Commonwealth Court. That's Firearm Owners Against Crime et al. Versus the City of Pittsburgh. There, we were successful in enjoining the City of Pittsburgh's 3 illegal ordinances, and they appealed. As Kim Stolfer said, violations of preemption found in Section 6120 are misdemeanors of the first degree per Section 6119. Yet we never hold our elected officials accountable. District attorneys do not prosecute them for violating the law, yet they'll prosecute you and I. This needs to end. We also are seeing a number of challenges at the federal level. We saw the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives recently put out that they are going to enter into rulemaking to regulate what constitutes a frame or receiver. Now, some of you may remember from last year's rally, Attorney General Josh Shapiro tried to do that here in Pennsylvania. And I went into court and we got an injunction against it. Judge Robson held that Attorney General Josh Shapiro and the Pennsylvania State Police violated the constitutional rights of the residents of this Commonwealth by implementing that regulation. Now think about that. The Attorney General of the Commonwealth violated the constitutional rights of every resident in Pennsylvania. Good question. How come? Once again, we see our elected officials not held responsible, and it's a theme, and it needs to change. We just recently, a week and a half ago, saw a phenomenal Second Amendment decision out of the Commonwealth Court, and very few people are aware of it. Judge Robson issued a decision finding that Stroud Township's regulation of home ranges was violative of the Second Amendment and overturned the trial court's decision. So we are having success, but the fight never ends. So I'm going to leave you with this. We are in the fight of our lifetime. We need to get out. We need to understand that elections have consequences. We need to become informed. We need to know who's running for office and their positions. And we need to get out and vote. And I'll leave you with this. In the near future, don't be surprised if you see my name on a statewide ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Joshua Prince has been doing some excellent work in the courtroom as Chief Counsel of Firearms Industry Consulting Group. He's been defending the Second Amendment there and Article 1, Section 21 over and over again to see regular updates from Joshua and some of the victories and some of the battles he's involved in. We appreciate his hard work on behalf of the Constitution. Our next speaker is Representative Matt Dowling, and Matt has spoken before, but he was invited to speak in the past based on legislation. This time he was invited to speak because he just recently became the Pennsylvania House Second Amendment Caucus Chairman, and he's been doing some great work in that position because since the creation of that caucus, no one has ever put the creative energy into it that I've witnessed Matt putting into that Second Amendment caucus now. And he's got a regular update he's putting out to update members. He's got a new video that he's producing on target, which is just an excellent creative way to try and share the work that's being done in the Capitol with those outside the Capitol so people can rally, not rally once a year, but rally regularly to make sure they're holding their elected officials accountable to do the right thing, and that would be defend liberty and defend the Constitution that affirms that liberty. Representative Matt Dowling.
Thank you, Chairman Metcalf. Good morning, Patriots. Now, this is a rally, and we want to be loud. We want to be proud. We want the guy that's jogging down there on Front Street to hear us and wonder what's going on at today's state capitol. So let's make some noise in affirmation of the Second Amendment. I'm Matt Dowling, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed because I got out of bed this morning. I'm blessed because Chairman Metcalf invited me to address all you fine folks that made this trip to the state's capital. I'm blessed because my sons and my gorgeous wife and some of my closest supporters are here with me today. I'm blessed because I have the opportunity to serve the Pennsylvania House of Representatives as the chairman of the Second Amendment Caucus. And I'm blessed because I live in the United States of America. Now, as Americans, as Pennsylvanians, we are all blessed that our forefathers had the courage and the foresight to protect our rights, to keep and bear arms. Not only in the U.S. Constitution, but in Pennsylvania's Constitution as well. But as blessed as we are, know that there are detractors among us. They want to take away those rights. We have a president of the United States who recently said that no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. We have a governor who vetoed a bill passed by the House and the Senate that protected your declaration. Your ability to open carry a firearm and make gun stores essential during disasters. And remember that same governor who single-handedly decimated industry after industry in the name of a pandemic has had us under a continuous disaster declaration for more than 3 years. As chairman of the Second Amendment Caucus, I represent nearly 70 members of this body who work to promote pro-gun agendas for law-abiding citizens by preserving the rights to keep and bear arms. Member legislators of the Second Amendment Caucus are committed to rejecting proposals that aim to weaken Pennsylvania's constitutional rights. But as hard as these fine legislators work, anti-gun activists are working just as hard. In our very body, more than 26 anti-gun bills have been introduced, and Kim has that long list. Right here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania legislators are taking the lead from Washington radicals, and they're trying to curtail our freedoms. The Second Amendment Caucus is standing strong, but we can't do it alone. So I'm asking you today, call your legislator and ask them if they're a member of the Second Amendment Caucus. And if they are, recognize that you too are blessed. And if they're not, ask them why. We need every person tasked with representing our rights to help keep people like Biden, Pelosi, and Wolf away from our guns. You here today are not just one voice. You represent many people, your family, your friends, constituents of your areas. Use it wisely. And may God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Representative Matt Dowling. Our next speaker was one of my colleagues in the Pennsylvania House, and then ran for the Senate and was blessed to be elected to the Senate. So Senator Chris Dush is our next speaker. Senator.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Daryl. And, wow. Hello, Patriots. Part of the reason I'm up here today is because I have the concealed carry permit bill over in the Senate. And the right of the Pennsylvanians under Article 1, Section 21 doesn't say except. It doesn't say except when you're carrying it concealed. We have an indefeasible right to carry that is guaranteed by the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Article 1, Section 21 says the right of the people to bear arms in defense of themselves and the people shall not be questioned. It's even more strongly worded than the U.S. Constitution. But how did we get there? July 4th, 1776, something very, very unique happened. Up until that point, sovereignty belonged to kings and parliaments, but mostly kings. July 4th, 1776, the sovereignty fell to the American people. Great proof of that is in constitutions like ours here in Pennsylvania. we the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of civil and religious liberty, and humbly invoking His guidance, do ordain and establish this Constitution. It wasn't any form of government that created the Constitution. It was the people. It is the people. You own the government. Article 1, President Biden said that the rights are not, how did he put it? It's not unquestioned. He said they're not absolute. That's right. I got news for President Biden. Article 1, Section 25 of Pennsylvania's Constitution says to protect the people against usurpation of the government of the powers that we've invested shall be everything in Article 1 is accepted out of the powers of the government and shall forever remain inviolate. That's the exclamation point. Pennsylvania gave an exclamation point in our Bill of Rights. And even in Article 1 comes before the legislature. It comes before the law, the subsequent law, the ultimate law of the land, and then the subsequent laws that the legislature, your Rules Committee, set up. The executive and judicial branch are under the law, literally and figuratively. Now let me ask you something. Since 1791, no change to the Pennsylvania Constitution has occurred without the consent of the people. Those changes, we had a couple of them. God bless every one of you who voted out there to make it happen. But those changes didn't happen without your vote. Have you or any of your ancestors ever given authority to the judicial branch or to the executive branch to write law? Where do they think they can assume, like our Attorney General and others, that they can do that? Ever since America was founded and the Republican form of government that our U.S. Constitution gives and guarantees to every state, we have people who have been trying to get us back into tyranny. Yes. Our Constitution is that protection. The real exclamation point is Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution and the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That is the ultimate guarantee of every other right in our constitutions. We have the duty to respond and to protect against tyranny. One story I'll leave you with. I'm a retired Master Sergeant. In the Pennsylvania Air National Guard, we're the guys that would arm up and come out if we were activated to help enforce law. I've done it down at the border in New Mexico. But every one of my troops, when I got them in, I asked them, you've taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution. If the president activated you and ordered you to go out and confiscate people's firearms, would you do it? Far too many of them said that they would. Here's my point. What I did, I said, there were people in Nuremberg, Germany that were hanging from the end of a rope for saying I was just following orders. We had, my base commander was there at one of those training sessions, and I turned to him and I said, "Sir, I'll come in and arm up, but I'm putting the guy in handcuffs that gave me the order." Colonel Dutton, he laughed and he said, "Sergeant Dush, I have no doubt you'd do it." He said, "But I guarantee you they'll have relieved me of command before it gets to that point." Now here's a bit of encouragement. I've had the tables flipped. I used to be an NCO doing promotion interviews, promotion boards for junior enlisted personnel. Last week, I had one general officer and 4 colonels who were up for becoming general officers in the Pennsylvania Guard. I'm the one conducting the promotion. Every one of them, I brought this up. I said, if the president or the governor tried to activate our troops in order to go out and confiscate our weapons or violate any other fundamental right in the constitutions, would you do it? And God bless every one of them. They said, there's no way. They would stand for the Constitution. And I got them on the record. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, the people form the government. The people own the government.
Right.
Every time somebody in the executive or judicial branch tries to usurp the authority of the legislature and create law by the stroke of a pen, you've got to take a stand. Every time a legislator tries to introduces a bill to try and usurp your rights, you need to hound them and make sure that they know there are a huge group of people out here willing to stand and willing to defend the Constitution. God bless every one of you for coming out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chris Dush. Appreciate your military service and your service in the House and now your service in the Senate. And that was an excellent story that you shared with me earlier and that you were able to share with our citizens who are here today regarding your kind of turning the tables now and being in that seat to lead the way on who gets promoted in our Guard units and that they'll be defending the Constitution. Thank you, Senator. We also are joined by Representative Andrew Lewis, who is with us here today. He made it known to me that he was back here. And you've seen other members have kind of come and gone through the course of the event, which typically we have to with anything happening here at the Capitol with competing schedules during the day, but we appreciate their attendance today and appreciate your attendance here to rally for your rights. You know, this morning as I was getting ready, I saw a story on Fox that was talking, actually interviewing AOC, that notorious violator of constitutional rights that's now in D.C. They were interviewing her about policy that some are pushing in New York City to get the police out of their schools. When I was a kid growing up, we didn't need police in our schools because we were taught to respect each other, our teachers, figures of authority. We were taught to respect law enforcement officers. We were taught to respect the law. We were taught to respect the Constitution. Ultimately, the Constitution is the law of the land, and all the laws are subservient to it. And any law that might be in violation of it is an illegal law or an illegal policy, as we've seen Wolf issuing one after another over the course of the last year. When I grew up, we were taught how to handle firearms in a responsible manner and what they were to be used for. I was taught to not point it at anything that I didn't want to harm. And that was through a hunting course. And then later I enlisted in the United States Army at the age of 17, and I was taught to point it at the enemy, if need be. But once again, you don't point a firearm unless you intend to harm somebody with it. And there's far too many people out there that are harming people with firearms. But they're not the law-abiding citizens that are here. They're not the millions of people that have been buying firearms over the last year. They're not the people that are in the statistics that Congressman Scott Perry referenced for the number of Americans of Asian descent or those Americans that are black or those Americans that are minority that are buying firearms. They've been buying firearms as law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. The criminal element are not allowed to buy the firearms that are being utilized in many of these crimes. The majority of these criminals are not using guns they've went down and had a background check to purchase. Many of them, they're stealing from law-abiding citizens, or they're buying from some other criminal that is allowed to buy them but doing a straw purchase for them. Law-abiding citizens are not the problem. The criminal element is the problem. And what we've seen, I always appreciate the passion that our audience has and wanting to make sure that they try and get their voice into the microphone, but you weren't invited to speak today, so otherwise I'll continue with the message. So as we look at what's occurred in this country, burning cities to the ground in some of these urban areas, a new story just this morning that I saw once again getting ready was a Dunkin' Donuts shop manager being shot dead by a criminal in Philadelphia that they're looking for. Hopefully they found him by now. But those are the types of crimes that law-abiding citizens need to be armed to protect themselves against. And once again, Congressman Scott Perry did a great job of bringing up some of those stories that occasionally you see but aren't widely publicized. But the majority of activity that takes place with firearms is law-abiding citizens preventing crime, or just by showing it that they're able to display it deters the criminal element. Just knowing that you have a carry concealed law deters the criminal element. We need the constitutional carry that was talked about here today, that Representative Aaron Bernstein and Senator Chris Gush both have introduced in their respective chambers. We need constitutional carry so that law-abiding citizens don't have a hurdle, an obstacle between them and the ability to exercise their right. They shouldn't have to hurdle or get over obstacles to exercise their right. They have a right to defend themselves. Constitutional carry would give more people that right that can't afford to go get a carry permit or can't afford to go through what needs to be done to make it happen. It would still prohibit those who are not allowed to have firearms to not have that firearm, to not have that sidearm, but it won't stop the criminal element, as we know. The only people you stop with a law against firearms or utilizing firearms or purchasing ammunition, the only people you stop are people that respect the law. Law-abiding citizens who do not want to be turned into criminals. And I'm here today to send a message that we will not be turned into criminals, because we will not abide by lawless dictates, whether they come from a legislative body, a city mayor, a city council, the governor, or Biden in D.C. We also have a preemption law that I was working with Kim Stouffer many years ago on, that we crafted after what was done in Florida with their preemption law, to go after local officials and local governments that were violating your constitutional right to bear arms. That legislation has been introduced over and over. It was actually passed in a bill that I had years ago. It's signed into law. The courts at the time struck it down due to the way that it moved through procedurally, which I think they were really striking it down more because of the issue than how it was actually procedurally advanced. But we continue to reintroduce that, and Representative Matt Dowling, who's our Second Amendment caucus leader in the House, is the prime sponsor this session of that bill, and that bill needs support also. Now, the bill that I've reintroduced that we drafted years ago, before Trump, because once President Trump was in, President Trump was working to defend the Second Amendment from the federal level, and the Congress wasn't moving on those radical policies that we now see Pelosi and Biden trying to advance with Schumer to try and disarm law-abiding citizens. But there was a reason to reintroduce House Bill 357 this year, and that's to make sure that we have a component to our fight that's going to tell the federal government we will not allow any new federal dictates on gun control to be allowed in Pennsylvania. We will not allow any further congressional violations of our Second Amendment. We will not allow any executive orders that violate our Second Amendment, nor will we allow any court decisions from the federal level that would violate our Second Amendment. That bill has many sponsors. It's currently in the Judiciary Committee. I'm hopeful that we'll see that move soon, as we did also see the constitutional carry bill move, because we need the package of telling local government no gun control, federal government no gun control, and making sure that the state government is advancing your rights with constitutional carry. You know, I've been working through a book on Frederick Douglass, and in the chapter now on some of his work on abolition of slavery and against the law that would allow for human beings that escaped from slavery in the South and made it to the North to, by law, be required to be brought back to the South if they were captured. Just horrific, horrific policies. But in his fight against slavery, his fight for abolition of slavery, and he came to a point where he said that those individuals that were the men stealers, that were the kidnappers of other human beings attempting to enslave them, that they deserved to be put down. And he didn't put it like this, I'm putting it like this, but they deserve to be put down like dirty dogs. And I'll tell you now, there are millions of us in the United States of America and millions of us that are veterans that will not stand by and allow our firearms to be taken from law-abiding citizens. We have the Second Amendment to protect all other amendments. And if push come to shove, there's millions of us that will utilize the Second Amendment to defend all of those amendments and not just on paper. So at this time, normally we have folks that break up into teams over the years and lobby through the Capitol. If you're able to make your way through the Capitol hallways today, I know there'll be some folks that will be happy to have you join them, that might have some teams going through to knock on doors and lobby legislators to keep their oath of office, defend the Constitution, defend the Second Amendment. We do have security in the back of the Capitol. If you're carrying and you want to go into the Capitol, you want to enter through the back so you can check your firearm there, and they'll lock it up for you in a locker that's provided, and then be able to give that to you when you leave the Capitol. I know the Capitol Police have been asking people to mask when they come through security, but they're not the mask police after you get through security. Now, if you have a medical condition and you tell them that you have a medical condition, you can't wear a mask, they won't make you wear a mask. I think all human beings have a medical condition. It's called breathing oxygen. Well, we need to stand up for the Second Amendment, and there's a lot of passion for that over the years. And we've seen a lot of passion generated, and this lady down here has been displaying a shirt that says Free PA. We've seen a lot of rallies here at the Capitol. There's still an ongoing lawsuit that I'm a plaintiff in with some others to fight the wolf unconstitutional actions of shutting down businesses, telling people to stay at home under house arrest, and telling people to reduce their gathering limits. All of those were unconstitutional, just as telling somebody to put a piece of cloth over your face and restrict your breathing is unconstitutional. We need to stand up for our constitutional rights, all of them, and we're only able to by standing up for the Second Amendment that protects the First and all others. Everyone have a great day. And thank you to God for blessing us with another beautiful day to hold the rally. No rain this morning. Praise to God for a beautiful day and a beautiful time to be together. Have a great day.